close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. Finding life along the way, melodies we haven't played. No, I don't want no rest. Echoing around these walls, fighting to create a song. I don't wanna miss a beat. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. And we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. And we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go.
Empty hearts and neon lights, they're playing with my mind. Gotta get out of here tonight. Oh, I wanna run off and fly, and I'll tell myself it's fine to be alone, just to find somewhere that finally feels like home. Oh, oh, oh. I hate all this overthinking. Oh, 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 oh. The more I swim, the more I'm sinking. Take me to a world of silver. No more heartbreaks, tears, painkillers. Take me somewhere unfamiliar. Bring me back to where we started out. Get me out of now. wanna run off and fly. And I'll tell myself it's fine to be alone, just to find somewhere. girls with their nails done now. Girls with their nails done. I like the girls with their nails done. Girls with their nails done. Girls with their nails done.
Hello, viewers. I'm Coach Abhishek, and we are back with 7th Chessbrainz Club Arena Battle, where the warriors are ready to take against each other and make this arena bombastic. So, we are going to dive into the first actionable game on the board, which is taking place between Ilhan, which is playing from the white, and Arnav, who is playing from the pieces of black. Currently, we are into the opening, and both players are trying to develop their minor pieces. And here, white has decided to take on e5. So, if you try to understand what has happened, black has lost a pawn in this position for free. And currently, the black kicked the opponent's knight out of their kingdom. Okay, black has got a fried liver attack on the white right now, and this is called as a fork, where you attack two pieces of your opponent in one move, and your opponent just has one move to save one of their piece. So they have saved their queen, and we have ended up winning their rook. Now, black is doing better because they have more points on the board right now. Now, the game is, oh, white has played their queen in front of a bishop. So we always tell our kids they should play their moves slowly. Otherwise, they can end up making such kind of wrong moves on the board. And now black has a clear advantage in this position. So black is winning and there is no question in it. Black is just matter of winning the white's king, where they have to get their queen into the attack and they can slowly build an attack near the white's king, and the game is going to completely go off the board for the white. We are going to take a look at a different game now. Now, two kids have already secured wins on the board. One is Summer and one is Bombastic Turtles. Okay, yes. So we are getting a request for Rudransh Sharma. So we are quickly going to dive into his game to see how did he performed. In this battle, Rudransh is playing from the pieces of white and Adya is playing from the pieces of black. Now, when we look at this particular game, what is the thing we see? Here the black's queen is hanging, so the white has it's the black's turn, so they need to save their queen immediately, otherwise the white bishop will end up capturing their queen. and they have decided to capture the pawn, which is quite okay. Now, the best move for the white is to quickly play rook to f1 and save their rook, which white has spotted indeed. But we can see both players have not castled yet in the position, which can make the game a bit difficult. Now, we will try to go from the beginning of the game to understand how do we reach such kind of position. So Rudransh started with e4, Adya responded with e5, and we were into a standard game. The position kept on going here. And here, the white tried fried liver attack on the board. As we saw in the first game, where you try to attack two pieces of your opponent using your knight to a pawn which is next to the opponent's king, and this is considered one of the weakest pawns in chess. So that's what white tried targeting using their two pieces, and it looks like a fork right now. But here, black forgot to open up their dark square bishop, and they played the knight directly on g5, which was actually a blunder by the white because it was not protected by anything. Then black managed to capture it. Then they tried making a move to discover attack their queen, but the queen was smart enough to figure out that, and she captured a pawn. The game kept on going, and black has also lost the privilege of castling. So we are into an early skirmish right now. Now, the thing I would like to recommend white is to get their queen out on some good square and castle on the queen side, because they have lost their castling rights on the king side. So this is what they should try to do. And when I look at the black pieces, I think castling has to be one of the motive, but they can't castle anymore because their king has moved from the starting square. So we need to see how this position goes further. Yes, white has immediately spotted the game, and they might now go for a long castle, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Parents, please type your kids' username so I can give you a glimpse of their game, how your kids are playing, and what can they do better to have a better game. After the stream, they can go through the stream and they can understand their play. Okay, still the position looks slightly better for the white right now, but we cannot conclude anything. So we will come back to this game maybe later on, and we will take on one of the next requests. Okay, we are getting a request from Kailash, so we are quickly going to take a look at his game as well. In this game, Kailash is playing from the pieces of white against Spider-Man, who is playing from the pieces of black. Now, Kailash has a well-established rating, but Spider-Man has a question mark rating. This means this kid has not played enough bleeds games to get their game judged by the system. So they need to play few more games to understand their real strength in numbers. When I look at this position, what is the first thing coming to my mind? Now, white is good enough to develop a lot of minor pieces. So the bishops and the knights are called as minor pieces. They're called as smaller pieces, okay? They have less value. And the queens and rooks are the major pieces in chess. So generally the plan is to get your minor pieces out in the game and castle as soon as possible. Now here we can see white captured a knight on d4 to eliminate their knight's power in his kingdom. And that same, the black was just meant to recapture that knight using either the queen or the pawn. But here, black did not recapture, which was one of the mistakes that they made. If I am capturing your 3 point, you need to capture my 3 point back to be equal in the game. But they didn't do so. And then black played bishop to c5, where white spotted another hanging piece with the same knight, and they managed to win one more piece. Then black played queen in front of the same knight again, and the same knight is taking Finally 15 points in last 3 moves, which is a phenomenal deal for the white. So I think the competition is not equal. I think the Spider-Man is probably new to the game, so they are into their early stage of their career, and Kailash is a well-established player, so he has no difficulty navigating through these positions. But by mistake, even Kailash played his queen in front of a knight, which is another blunder. Basically, Kailash was trying to go queen d5, and he was looking to make a diagonal battery. This battery's work is to attack the f7 pawn and try to go behind the centralized king of the black and try to do some attack to get an early mate. But they forgot that this is a square which is already being controlled by the knight, so they ended up losing. And white looks clearly fine. I would still say white is okay. The game is progressing, but because white has a lot of pieces on the board, a couple of knights, a bishop, a couple of rooks, all those things are making this game pretty clear and a clear victorious position for the white. We will head on to our next request right now. Okay, now we are getting a request for Raghav. So when we take a look at this position, Raghav is playing from the pieces of white against Fardhan. He's playing from the pieces of black. Fardhan is currently having 2 extra points on the board, so they have more material than their opponent. And when I look at the overall position, the black is completely going hyper aggressive, I would say. But black has probably misplaced their knight in front of a bishop, and probably they have blundered it, so they have lost. Okay, so when black did the queen trade here, black got 9, white got 9, but white's king moved before the castle. So this means this king has lost its privilege of castling throughout the game. And black's king can still castle, and the position is very solid for the black as well right now. But yeah, I think black had a very good early attack on the board, which is definitely something that I need to appreciate. Okay, but both players have like 1 minutes left in their clock. So we need to see who has a better time management, who takes least amount of time and spots the best moves in the position to become the winner of this game. We will stay for a couple of more minutes here, and then we will go on the next request. Because only 1 minutes are remaining, so we are going to see within some seconds that the kids will start spamming the moves because of the time pressure. And then we'll come to know who has a better composure on the board. Okay, so when I look at the position, there is nothing much. This is about activating your pieces more. Like this rook is sitting in the corner, doing nothing for the white. So they need to spot a way to bring this inactive rook into the game, this inactive bishop into the game, this inactive rook into the game. For instance, white can go rook f1, which can give them the semi-open file. They can develop the dark square bishop on e3, and then they can bring the other rook out on c1. In future, if they want, they can go king c2, then king b1, and they can make a sort of artificial castle on the board, which looks like a castle, but it is a handmade castle and not the castle that we get when the game starts. Okay, a lot of moves have been played by both of the players in this position, which is fine. There's nothing wrong. And here we see it is going to be a very important game right now, because the white has a passed pawn. That means this pawn has no challengers from the opponent's team. Any one of their pawns cannot stop the white pawn from becoming a queen. And what a beautiful placement of the knight on e7. Now, the rook has only one way to activate itself in this position, which is this open file. But because of this knight outpost on e7, it is preventing this rook from coming in the white's kingdom and doing any sort of attack on the white pieces. So this is a very good way to shut down the pieces of your opponent. Yes. I think white has found a way to complete this game, but it is still the matter of times. Wow. Okay. So here, white has managed to get a clear win in such an extreme time pressure. So a very good game by Raghav this time. We'll go to a different game now. So we are getting a request from Shrivant 1702. Okay. So Shrivant is playing from the pieces of black and they are going against Krisha. She's playing from the pieces of white. We are still into the early stage of the game. So the kids need to develop their pieces. They need to get them out from the starting squares, castle, and then they need to start some sort of attack on their opponent. So that is quite decided because the kid comes with that level of preparation. So it's okay. So there's nothing much in this position to be featured right now. We'll come back maybe after some time. We can take on the next request for the time being. Okay, we are getting a request for Parth. Okay, so Parth is playing from the pieces of white against Summer, who is playing from the pieces of black. Now, white has a clear extra rook in the position and black just has a king and a couple of pawns. So this is a quite decisive win for the white. They just have to take this pawn and they can try to go for a mate using one king and one rook. If the king, let's say, moves on h8 or pawn moves on a4, then rook to c8 is a mate. So a very good game by Parth. He immediately spotted the mating chances on the board and immediately capitalized on his opportunities. So good game by Parth. We are getting a request from Sony 1976. So we will take a look at their game. Sony is playing from the pieces of black against Mr. Chess Forever. Now, when I look at this position, we are sort of in the middle game and the white's king's safety is a bit compromised and black is having a good kingside attack right now. The bishop is well placed on this diagonal, pinning this pawn to the king. And black is actually doing really fine in this position. Some moves, if I would like to recommend, black need to bring their remaining pieces into the battle. For instance, black can go rook to f8 and try to bring this piece into the battle with the idea of going rook to f4, which is like a very good deal. And they can try to also bring their queen into the battle. When I look the position from the white needs to, I was about to tell here that white can go, let's say rook to d1, then they can try to counter attack in the center to neutralize the threat of the black. So basically, as black is very strong on this part of the board to attack the white's king, they need to counter attack in the center of the board in these two files to distract the black or to make them busy in fighting in the center. And that way, the black will forget their own plans and they need to get busy in responding the white's moves. So we need to see, but before that only, the black played bishop to d4, preventing this pawn from going forward. And currently, this bishop is placed in the white half of the board. And white has no way to kick this bishop out of their kingdom using a pawn. So when one of your pieces is placed in the opponent's kingdom, when none of the opponent's pawn can kick it out of your kingdom, this kind of piece is called as an outpost, where your piece goes in the opponent's kingdom and spends more time there, creating more problems for your opponent. So by looking at this position, black is looking really solid right now. And white has tried achieving an outpost back in the game, but we need to see how this game continues further. Now, white can try to go rook to rook f on h1, and they can try to trade down their bad rook, which is like doing nothing, with the good rook of black, which is like creating some threats around the white's king. So they can try to exchange these pieces, and by that, the black's attack will, get a bit blunt, and they will not have many pieces which are later on going to be attacking on the white's king. Now the position looks pretty stable for the white, and now white's rook is aiming down the h file on a pawn near the black's king. So black has immediately figured out and defended that pawn, but position is a bit closed right now, where like there are no open files, there are barely open diagonals. Such kind of position is called as a closed position. Now here the black and white both, the black can try to create a play on the queen side of the board, as most of the white pieces are on the king side. So your idea can be, you can try to create a play on the other side of the board, because there most of the pieces are on the left side. So you can use the right side of the board in order to get a quick activity, quick advantage on that side, because none of their pieces are ready to defend and attack on this side of the board. Okay, fine. It is not a big deal right now for both the players. Yes. Looks okay. And here black could have captured with the c pawn, and they could have tried creating a passer on the queen side. A pawn which later on cannot be challenged by one of the white's pieces, and that can become a queen. But by taking back with this pawn, the black has got an open file from where they can like get their queen, let's say on b7, and they can infiltrate their queen into the white's kingdom and start targeting some of the important things that white have right now. For instance, queen b7, maybe queen b2, get this pawn, then you try to use this pawn and try to make a new queen in the position. That's how the position can simplify. Okay, white has tried breaking the small structure that was keeping the black's king alive. But if black captures using this pawn, there is no problem. And here they played their rook, which is fine. That's not a problem. Oh wow, black has spotted a beautiful pin against the white rook followed by their queen. So this means if the rook tries to move, we will win their queen. And if they don't move, we will still capture their rook and we will get 5 points for free from the white. Now, black has a decisive advantage in this position to win here. And there is nothing can stop black from winning this position after bishop captures f4, which is true. And now it's the matter of infiltrating your queen into the opponent's half. Take all the remaining, just do the collection of the remaining material, and you're all set to like crush the white's position now. So okay, this is a winning position. We can go to the next game now. Black is completely better and a very good game by both the players. Okay. Now we are going to take a game of Yedita Sharma. Let me check her username first. Yeah. So when we look at this game, Yedita is playing from the pieces of black against Karthik, who is playing from the pieces of white. And they almost have the similar rating. So we need to see. The game is going to be definitely fun to watch. In this position, white has moved the d3 pawn to d4 to take this bishop, but black forgot to save the bishop and they lost a bishop for free. Now they need to recapture because you have lost your 3 points. So you should get 3 points back, at least 1 point back from your opponent, which they have did. And apart from that, what is the difference? See, the black's king safety is currently badly compromised. Apart from that, white's king is slightly more safe. And when we look at the activity of the pieces, the black pieces are completely sleeping. The 3 pieces are on their starting squares and they have not even made a single move. So it's like, you have a lot of resources, but you are not using it. So black needs to think about bringing this, sleeping pieces. They need to wake them up and they need to bring them into the battle. Wait, what? Oh, white played knight to e4, which is a wrong move. Okay, the point of the white here was I play my knight to e4, attacking your queen. And you might get tempted to take my knight. But here the white's plan was the white queen on f3 is pinning the pawn on f5 to the rook. So their point was if you take 3 points from me, you are breaking a pin where this pawn will go out of the queen's way and they will take 5 points from the black and will check the king. So black here was just supposed to save their queen, but they brought the knight out. It was a tactical position and white is now completely better. Yes. Probably the black needs to spend some more time, think for at least 15 to 20 seconds, and then make their move. Always check your move twice, students, okay? Never play like in a rush. You play it slowly and try to play it accurately in order to get good moves on the board. You need to be patient. Okay, let's go to the next game now. We are getting a request from Kailash again. Okay, so Kailash is taking currently against Atvik, where Atvik is playing from the pieces of black and Kailash is taking from the pieces of white. When I look at this position, there is simply the material advantage of 4 points with Kailash, which is making him stronger to win this game. They have a lot more resources right now on the board in order to secure a win. Apart from that, the king safety is good for both the players. Now, white needs to bring their last piece into the battle. Like the h1 rook can travel to d1 on this open file. And then that rook can go in the black's kingdom and start attacking the black pieces. Similarly, black needs to they need to figure out a way to bring their light square bishop into the game. And they need to also bring their rooks into the game. The rooks are still behind some pawns, doing nothing for them. And that has made a difference in the position. If you look at the white bishop, it is active. It is doing some play on the board right now. Okay. When you move a pawn near your king, okay, let's say when this pawn was on g7, it was attacking the f6 square and the h6 square. So if our bishop goes on h6, this pawn can easily capture the bishop. But when they moved this pawn, they lost the control of these two squares after this pawn moved here. So they got a weakness of the same color, which is a dark square weakness. And now what white can do in this position? They can think of moving their bishop on h6 and they can try to attack not only some squares around the king, but they can try to attack the black's rook. But they're playing a different sort of chess. They have some different plans, which is fine, but I'm really keen for the white to bring their last piece into the battle right now and see what do they make out of the game. A later on plan can include moving the bishop on f6 in order to just make it more stronger into the opponent's kingdom and then bringing your last rook into the battle. Okay. Kailash is pretty low on time right now. So that can be a reason where, the kid can go out of his clock and he can lose the position. Otherwise, white is doing extremely good. But now black has equalized the material as well because they have got a lot of free pawns in this position. And they have 4 extra pawns on the board and white has none. So black has chances that they can make some queens out of their remaining pawns at the last stage of the game, and they can they can improve their resources and they can try to win. The white king is exposed. One thing that white did wrong in the position was, these 3 pawns was the roof of the white's king. It is covering the king from the black's attack that black can do on the king. But black moved those pawns itself, and once those pawns got exchanged with the black pawns, this king is completely exposed and black can attack the white's king anytime and get a quick advantage in the position. And that's what I think black is now trying to even do. Yes, there are a lot of checks in the position, and it is going to be fun to see where the game heads on. White is very low on time, and this knight was hanging, but black missed to capture it. What is black trying to do right now? We need to see that. Okay, so black is trying to spam some moves on the board to let the white run out of their clock, and by doing that, the white's clock will run out within some seconds, and black will win on the time. This is a strategy that currently, the black is using. Yes, and finally, white lost on time. Okay, white timed out. White lost all of its time. Black had 3 minutes and 40 seconds, due to which they made a victory in the position. Even though when we came to this game, white was doing completely great. We can head to a different game now. Okay, now we are going to take a game of, before taking the next game, I would like to give you a glimpse of our leaderboard. Currently, we have 62 participants, which is like a really good number for this competition. And when I look at the top 10, Swayam is on the 10th position with 8 points. Then we have Daishnavi on the 9th position with the similar 8 points. Now you guys must be having a question. If both players have the same number of points, why the one player is placed above the second one? And the reason to this is Daishnavi has just played 3 games and she has managed to win all of them. So her win rate is 100%. Swayam has scored the same number of points, but he has played 5 games and he has lost one of his game. So his win rate is lesser than Daishnavi, due to which she's placed on the 9th position. Then we have Shaurya on the 10th position, on the 8th position with 10 points. Then we have Arna Dhruvan with 10 points on the 7th position. Then we have Sidhu on the 6th position with 12 points. Then we have Atvik on the 5th position with 12 points. Then we have Livinesh on the 4th position with 12 points. Then we have Arnav on the 3rd position with 12 points. Then we have Raghav on the 2nd position with 16 points. And then we have Bombastic Turtles, who has managed to win all of his 6 games in a row with 100% of win rate. And he is currently leading the leaderboard with 20 points, completely undefeated. So, we'll take a game right now. Okay, we'll take the Mr. Chess Forever game first. Not sure if you have given me the right username. Yeah. Okay. So, Mr. Chess Forever is taking on Rishi. Rishi is playing from white. A Chess Forever is taking from black. Currently, Rishi is having 3 extra points in the position. Yeah. So, Rishi has more resources on the board. They have more material. And when I look at this position, white is having a queen right now. Black has lost their queen early in the game. But wait, the black has managed to play bishop to h5, skewing the white's king with the white's king with the white's queen. And when this king is going to move, the white is also going to lose its queen. So position is going to be really, really interesting for us to watch out, because suddenly we can see the black is making a comeback. And now black is the one who has more material of 3 points on the board right now, because they have an extra bishop, whereas white is having just 1 rook, 1 king, and black has 1 rook, 1 king, and that extra bishop, which is making the difference. Now, when I try to see this position, the black has a lot of plans that they can use. They can try to collect the white pawns on the second rank, which are currently not defended by the white. The black also has a passed pawn along the g5. So they can try to play a rook behind this pawn, and they can try to roll this pawn further to the point that it becomes a queen. So black has a lot of choices in the position. But white has played, they gave a check, and by mistake, white played rook to g1, which was a blunder, and black managed to get a free rook from the white, due to which now black is completely better. It's just a matter of doing some, just doing some clearance, and then the game is just off. You just have to clear the white's remaining pieces, and black is better. We'll go to the next game now. We are getting a request from Arav UK. Okay, basically, Arav has already completed his last game and he has not paired against anyone. So we will try to go through his last game and see what was the result, how did the overall game went. In this game, Arav was playing from the pieces of black against Samar, who was playing from the pieces of white. And the game went on for 23 moves. We'll quickly try to see what went on the board. So both players were doing okay in the opening. We generally not recommend the students to exchange a bishop for a knight, because a bishop is slightly better than the knight, and we find this difference in the endgame. And also moving the same piece twice in the opening is not recommended. White also did the same thing that black did. Students, please try not to exchange your bishop for a knight. A bishop is slightly better than a knight, and also do not move the same piece twice. Try to develop one piece in each move of your opening, and try to complete your opening in the least possible moves from the start of the game. Now, white was trying to go for queen g6, trying to attack this pawn near the king once. The white king is guarding it once, and their point was to go bishop to h3 and attack this pawn twice. They were trying to do a queen helper checkmate, but black spotted it immediately and played the pawn. Now, when they played this pawn, the white got light square weaknesses, and a good idea can be playing the bishop on h3 and try to attack the light square weaknesses that the white gave to the black. But they traded down the bishop, and the position kept on going. I think black was doing fine till this point. They had some material advantage as well. Here, a better move was to bring the last rook into the battle, because in this position, we can see our opponent has not connected their rooks. So one of the strategy is, when your opponent have not connected their rooks, you definitely take their rook on the open file using your rook. But when their queen comes on the open file to recapture your rook, you can win a tempo on their queen by playing rook to f8. Audience, I would like to explain you what is a tempo in the game of chess. In this position, this rook is currently sleeping. So when the rook goes on f8, the rook brings itself to an open line from where they can enter in the opponent's half and do some attack. But when black did that, black also managed to attack one of the white's piece. And that's how black utilized this move to their advantage, and white needs to waste a move to save the queen. The game kept on going after this. Yes. And the game is still going on, and here the black just resigned because they had lost their queen by misplacing it on a1. So that was the only conclusion. We'll go through the next game now. Okay, we are getting a request from Sidhu, so we'll go through their game. Okay, so in this game, Sidhu is taking on the Parth. He's playing from black, Parth is playing from white, and we are into a rook endgame. Now, whenever the kids get a rook endgame, that means they have played their opening and their middle game properly in order to get such a fighting position. So both players must have played a really good chess before coming to this position. Currently, the black has 2 extra points in the position, which makes them better. Now, what should black do in this position? They have a passer along the h file, so they should try to help that pawn to become a queen by moving it repeatedly on this line. Otherwise, they can move these pawns and they can try to trade like this pawn with opponent's this pawn, and they can create one more passer in the position. When you have passed pawns, you create your opportunity of making more queens on the board. This is why, you have to create a passer. A passed pawn is a pawn which cannot be challenged by your opponent's pawn. Okay, it looks fine. There's nothing much left in the position. Black is doing better. Now, we are going to take on our next request, which we are getting from Athvik. Okay, so Athvik is playing from the black's pieces against Spider-Man, who is taking with white. Athvik has a clear material advantage of 7 points right now, and he's looking better. When I tell you about the overall perspective of the game, one thing which is bad about black is they have left their king in the center. Your king is everything in the game of chess, so you cannot leave it in the center like this. This is what you need to figure out. And yeah, but you have a lot of material due to which, it is compensating the fact that you have not castled yet. But yeah, for black, this position is pretty clear. They need to get their knight out on some good square, and they need to quickly castle to make the king safe. When I look this position for the white, I think white is also doing well right now, but they have lost a lot of points. So what can be a strategy for them? They already have an open file, so they can try to take on the another open file by playing rook to d1, and they can win a tempo, and then they can try to bring their rooks on the 7th rank and create some pressure in the black's kingdom. Oh, white thought that the black's knight on e7 is only protected by the king. So when black castled, white thought that I can now take this knight for free because the king has went 2 steps away from the knight and it's not guarding the knight anymore. But they forgot to watch out the fact that the bishop was still guarding that knight. So bishop will simply capture that knight and everything is fine for the black in this position. They have more material and it's just matter of now few moves to complete this game. Now, one thing, they've blundered another rook. And this is happening because even I guess the white is new to the game and he's taking against one of the players who has a lot of experience. And yeah, black just managed to pull up a back rank mate. The king got trapped in the last line of the board. The rook attacked that last line. The king had no way to save itself and the position just shattered completely. Okay, we can go through a different game now. Parents, please type your kid's username so we can take you through their game and you can get a quick analysis. Okay, I would like to take one of the top games right now. So in this particular game, Arnav is playing as white against Raghav, who is playing as black. But I think the game has got completed by the time we reached here. Okay, we can take on a different one. Sure. We are getting a request for Rudransh. Okay. Rudransh is playing against Arnav. He's playing as white. Arnav is playing as black. When I look at this position, black has the material advantage of 8 points on the board. But the most important thing that surprises me, the white's king has came out of its current position, has not castled yet, and the king is currently fully unsafe and exposed. So black has now chances to achieve a quick checkmate in this position on the white's king. But I'm just thinking how black can make this thing work. Now some moves were played in the position here. We saw the position when the bishop was on d7 and it was attacking the king. White managed to block it with a bishop. Black decided to take this bishop because it was coming in its way from attacking the black's king, the white's king. They took. Instead, and remember, black cannot take this thing back. White cannot take the black's bishop back because the knight is protecting it. So white lost their bishop for free. The king went on a5, and black found a very hilarious mate with a pawn. We generally don't see a pawn performing a checkmate. But this kid has definitely did a lot of puzzles which their coach must have given, due to which he has a good knowledge that a pawn can even perform a checkmate. So very good game by Arnav in this position. We will take on the next request now. Okay, we'll go through the game of Parth. Okay, so Parth is playing as black against Mr. Chess Forever. And in this position, white has one extra minor piece. So white has that extra knight that black doesn't have. And I would like to suggest a plan to the black. Black can try to move this pawn to, let's say, attack this rook. And then, okay, that this is also, the queen is, now the queen has came to the defense. So my point was, when the rook came here, move your d7 pawn on d5 and attack this rook. So your opponent needs to save the rook. And then your bishop is opening up when you move this pawn. Later on, the bishop on c8 can directly capture the pawn on h3, and the bishop and the queen can target the g2 pawn twice, threatening a queen and the helper checkmate. But indeed, the black played bishop to b7, and their point must be they wanted to move this rook, then attack the rook and that mating pawn. So they were kind of trying to do a skewer after, first they wanted to do a discovered attack, and then a skewer with the rook and then the mating plan. But black can easily, the white can easily go rook to g4 in order to defend that. The game proceeded after that with some moves, and white is looking fine because white brought some of its heavy pieces in front of their king, and that pieces will help the white to keep their king completely safe in the position. Now black has to save their queen because it is in the danger. It is not going to be an easy thing for the black to find the right plan. I would prefer maybe going into the opponent's half of the board and creating more threats in the white's kingdom, attacking more things there. So whenever your piece gets attacked, instead of going back, you try to go forward and you put more pressure in their kingdom, which creates more opportunities for you to attack your opponent. This is one of the strategy I'm thinking, and then black can try to bring his sleeping pieces into the battle, which is okay, that's fine. Now you bring your last pieces into the battle, like your both of the rooks, make a battery along the e-file and try to go in the opponent's kingdom and try to play your game. White has played bishop to c2, and that's threatening a checkmate on h7. Black spotted and stopped it by going pawn h6. Now, black has the opportunity to play pawn to g5 and threaten a fork on two of the white's pieces. Black can play pawn g5 and one of the white's piece is gone. And these are heavy pieces. So pawn to g5 has a lot of value, but we need to see if black can actually spot this move on the board or not. Let's see. What can white do after that? Oh, they played pawn to f6. They forgot to spot the fork. Okay, that's fine. That's okay. Now the rook has went on e4, again trying to attack the queen. And again, the white should always look to go forward and create threats in the opponent's half. If you keep on defending, your opponent will keep on attacking you. So you need to be the one who takes the charge of the game, the initiative of the game. You need to go forward and attack in order for you to for your opponent to defend. If you keep on defending, then your opponent will keep on attacking you. Okay. Position is fine. We can go through we can go to a different game right now. Okay. We are getting the next request from. Okay. We are getting a request from Atvik. Okay, let's go through their game. Yeah. Atvik is playing from the pieces of black against Tanish. He's playing from white. When I look at this position, both kings are yet in the center. So yes, first step is save your king, then you can save the whole game. Second thing that I see, this knight is looking too strong in the black's kingdom. So black should try to kick this knight out of their kingdom. Otherwise, this knight can do some quick damage to the white. And white is not castling and doing an early attack. Oh, the kids are playing a bit fast. Kids, you have a lot of time. Oh, they're playing too fast. You have 5 minutes in your clock. Play a bit slower. Try to understand what your opponent's idea, what are they trying to do. Understand and then try to make your next move based on your opponent's move. If you spam the moves, you get a checkmate too quickly. So white has managed to win that game because the kids were rushing with the moves. Now we will take a look at Rudransh game. Currently, Rudransh is playing as black, as white. Against Jay, he's playing as black. Oh wow, this position looks an opening position. Now, as the white's king is in danger, they should not move the king to save it because they can lose the castling rights. So they need to block the attack and there is no other way apart from this, or maybe knight to d2. But they have decided to go with the bishop. We need to see what black does after this. Black decided to capture. You just have to recapture and you are fine. Now, yes, when white did a counter attack. Fine. They saved their knight, which was hanging, which is fine. There's nothing wrong. Now, for white, one thing is suggested: develop your bishop and quickly castle in order to not leave your king for too long in the center. There's nothing much in the position. White is doing fine. Black needs to castle quickly, and they also need to bring their pieces into the battle. It's important for them to develop their pieces because without developing your knight and your bishop, your rook's way won't get cleared and you can't bring your rook, which is already in the corner right now. Black is playing pawn to a5, which does not have a real good purpose. They could have rather castled and then must have selected a safe way to play here. White needs to castle with them, which they have did indeed. And now the white has got a free pawn. When they played pawn to h5, it was defended by the rook and it was defended by the queen. And we were attacking it with the bishop and then the queen. We were attacking it twice, they were defending it twice. But then white castled, black castled, and the rook changed its position, due to which this pawn lost its one of the protection, which it was getting from the rook. And it's only defended once. White is attacking it twice, due to which white managed to got a free pawn and black cannot take back because then they will lose the queen. Bishop d7, black is developing pieces. White is trying to fight the e4 pawn, which is in their kingdom, putting pressure in the white's kingdom. Now, black is trying to defend that pawn. Black should think about playing most like knight c6 and then rook. They should bring their last rook into the battle on rook d8, and that's how their position will be flourished. Then they will enter a phase of the game which is called as a middle game, and then they will look to checkmate the opponent's king or try to get some sort of positional or material advantage. Yeah. And what should white do? Okay, white has found a beautiful skewer where this bishop is attacking one of the bigger piece of the black followed by a smaller piece of the black in the same diagonal. So both are currently being attacked by one bishop. Remember, the queen can't take a bishop because pawn takes the queen and you get more points. And black was supposed to save the queen and bishop together, but I think there is no way to do that. So in that case, you need to move the queen out of the square but you need to connect your queen with that bishop so the queen can support the bishop. But black was not able to achieve it because if the queen goes to d5, the pawn on c4 can easily capture it. So they had to give it down. So beautiful skewer by the white in this position. And now, as you have more material than your opponent, it is more about exchanging pieces. You try to liquidate the position by exchanging when you have more material. Because let's say if I have one sword in my hand, my opponent has, I have, let's say, 3 swords in my hand. My opponent have 2 swords. I will try to throw my 2 of the swords with 2 of their swords and they will be left barehanded. I will still have 1 sword to fight. And then black has simply resigned here. They have just decided to leave the game. Students, at least try to play till the end. Resigning is not a good thing. This is just a practice tournament. So make sure you play till the end and test your skills properly. Okay. We are into the last 6 minutes of this tournament. And look at Arnav. He has been undefeated. He has managed to play 10 games in a row, in which he won 9 games in a row and just got 1 draw on his 6th game, and he's still playing 1 more game. Let us take on one of the last requests for this tournament. Okay. We are going to take a game of Samyan now. So, Samyan is playing against Swayam. Samyan is playing as white, Swayam as black. Both have, a minute rating difference of around 100 points. And when we look at the position, we are still into the early phase of the game right now. We cannot make a comment here. We just need to castle and the same thing that I told you previously. Okay, position is fine. We need to see. Now, white need to castle quickly. You can't leave your king in the center for too long like this. Knight captures, pawn takes. You need to save the knight. Ah, they left the knight hanging. The kids are playing a bit fast because the tournament is now about to end within few minutes. So kids are playing faster to get more points for themselves to get a better position in the leaderboard. But you should more focus on playing a good chess than looking for the leaderboard. It's just a way that you should follow. Okay, queen went on e2. So yeah, now black is doing significantly better because they have 5 extra points. White has more activity. If you look at the black rooks, they are sleeping behind their pawns. But both of the white rooks were active. So white still has a better activity and white has a slight chance of converting this game into a win for themselves. What else can be a case here? Black should try to activate their inactive pieces first. You can't leave your pieces sleeping. Even though they have 5 extra points, but their 10 points are currently off the game, and now they are bringing it into the battle. Okay, as this rook has moved on e8, the pawn on f7 is not defended anymore. It is already being targeted once by the white rook, and later on white can think of getting queen f2 and try to deflect this knight away to get the pawn on f7 after that. That could be a strategy. But white is going forward, trying to create threats in the opponent's kingdom, which is a very good way to play. White is trying to increase their activity. They move the knight. Now they can just take this pawn if they want to. But black is now trying to play knight to d2, and they're trying to make a fork in the white's kingdom. And white will lose one of their rooks if they are not aware. Now knight comes on d2 and there's a beautiful fork. So 2 of the white's pieces are in danger, but in one move you can only save 1 piece. You can't save 2 pieces when they are in danger together. You save this, you lose that, and vice versa. So black is now about to win 2 more points, so they will be +6. Now, the white is now trying a final blow before they lose their game completely. Their point is to now finally target f7 and try to look for some player against the king. which is indeed a great strategy, I would say. But black has managed to defend it at the right time. So kudos to the black for finding it in a such a time pressure position. Now what black can do? Black can try to save this pawn if they want to, or they can try to That's the only thing they can do right now. They need to save this pawn. And okay, the position looks fine for, I think, black to now win from here. Okay, viewers, we are in the last 2 minutes of this tournament, and then we are going to have our final winners. We need to see the leaderboard. If you look at the Arnav's points, 38 points, and there is no way somebody can even touch him, because the second the player who is on the second position, which is Raghav, has just 27 points, and you get only 2 points when you win a game of chess. So you cannot get that many points within just 1 minute. You cannot even play that many games. So yeah, I mean, it's now about to end, and soon we are going to have our winners. But I would say all the kids who showed up here played a brilliant chess. They collected experience, which will help them to play a better chess in their coming games. When they will play their coming games, they must have collected some experience from here, which will help them to play a better chess in the coming tournament, in their coming games. So that is a good thing. Winning and losing is secondary, but showing up, practicing regularly, gathering experience is a primary thing that you cannot skip off. So that is one of the thing and the point I would like to highlight. Apart from that, I think the leaderboard is quite decisive. One thing to watch out for is Hikaru bleeds and Atvik has the same number of points. But yes, at the last moment, Atvik has got couple of more points, and he's on the 5th position. So that difference is gone. Yeah, we are in the last 7 seconds of the tournament, and we are finally going to have our winners. Okay, here we are. On the 10th position, we have Anvi with 18 points. Then we have Shaurya on the 9th position with 18 points. On the 8th position, we have Samar with 19 points. On the 7th position, we have Abhi, the champion, with 19 points. On the 6th position, we have Hikaru Bleeds with 20 points. On the 5th position, we have Atvik with 22 points. On the 4th position, we have Bombastic Turtles with 24 points with a win rate of 80%. On the 3rd position, we have Daishnavi with 24 points with a win rate of 89%. Now, both players had 24 points secured during this tournament. But because Daishnavi has a higher win rate, she has lost less number of games than Bombastic, due to which she has placed higher in the leaderboard. On the 2nd position, we have Raghav Sharma with a 62% of win rate, but he gathered a lot of points, which is 27. And on the 1st position, we have champion of this tournament, which is Arnav Dhama with 38 points and a whooping win rate of 92%. I congratulate to all the winners, and I congratulate to all the participants for showing up here. We are going to meet similarly in the next tournament. I have small request to our viewers. Make sure you hit the like button for the stream if you liked it. Subscribe to our channel. Press the bell icon. So whenever next time we go live, you will get a notification, which will help you to come back to our upcoming streams. And that is all I can say. Thank you so much for tuning into this beautiful evening. We will meet in the next stream. Take care and have a great time.